Newsfirst at 9. Headlines.
Hello, very good evening to you. Welcome to Primetime News, live on MTV Sports and Shakti TV. I'm Shine Jurangpati, and these are your headlines tonight. ICC World 2020 champions felicitated in Parliament. Also in Parliament, MP Lakshman Kiriala pledges to support the state to face an inquiry in Geneva. Government questions as to whether the MP's stance reflects the stance of the UMP. Incentives for employees and farmers at sugar factories expropriated by the government. Control price on rice increased. Well, those are tonight's headlines. We'll cross over to the main news desk with these stories and much more in detail shortly after this commercial break.
Hello there, very good evening. I'm Shane Silva.
I'm Minosha Ratnasekara. In your top story tonight, the ICC World T20 champions were felicitated in Parliament today. The national team and their families had been invited to tea at the Parliament complex by Speaker Chamal Rajapaksa.
According to our lobby correspondent, many parliamentarians had openly wished the victorious team and had added that Dinesh Chandimal's decision to step down from the role of captain is commendable and this should be taken as an example. The parliamentarians had also stressed that this is the first time which a Sri Lankan cricket team had been felicitated in this manner in Parliament, and that such a felicitation had not even taken place following the '96 World Cup victory. Deviating from Parliament traditions, the parliamentarians had entered the public gallery and had wished the team who were in attendance in Parliament this evening.
And now Sri Lanka Cricket has expressed its regret over the charges made by Mahela Jayawardena against the Secretary and CEO of SLC.
Issuing a communique, Sri Lanka Cricket categorically stated that neither the Secretary nor the CEO of Sri Lanka Cricket had volunteered any statement to the press regarding Mahela Jayawardena's decision to address media regarding his apparent retirement from the T20 format of cricket. The statement adds that Sri Lanka Cricket considers such statements as damaging to both the image of the institution and the officials concerned. The communique issued by Sri Lanka Cricket also goes on to state Sri Lanka Cricket as an institution regrets such unsubstantiated accusations levelled against the Secretary and its CEO by a senior member of the national team without verifying the facts at a public forum, a sportsman whom they hold in the highest esteem as both a former national captain as well as a brand ambassador for the nation. In closing, the communique reads that Sri Lanka Cricket will make no further releases on this subject matter and shall treat this matter as closed. Yesterday, at a press conference at the BIA to celebrate the arrival of the ICC World 2020 champions, Mahela Jayawardena and Kumar Sangakkara made the following remarks.
After reaching Bangladesh, I was asked if this would be my last World Cup. I am now 38 years old. I cannot play in another World Cup. I gave them the answer that this will be my final World Cup. I am disappointed with the response he gave without making inquiries. We are saddened that executive officials of Sri Lanka Cricket went to their media institutions and made statements about us without making inquiries from us first. I said that this was my final World T20 in response to a question posed to me by the Island newspaper. While we answered questions that we were asked, neither Mahela nor I convened a media briefing and made such a statement. I am in full agreement with what Mahela said.
Leader of the National Unity Front, Azad Sali, expressed the following views at a media briefing held in Colombo today.
We are disappointed over the injustice caused to Mahela and Sangakkara. I believe that the cricket board should immediately apologize to these two players. They have already destroyed the sport of football in the country and are on the verge of destroying every sport in the country. We are under intense scrutiny from the Olympic Committee as well. Today, the Athletics Association is under the impression that they do not have to be held accountable for any of their actions. So this is where the country stands today. Every institution and department undergoes an audit. And this is essential. This is to prove its transparency. Every cent that comes into this country must be accounted for.
A profit of 1,486 million rupees has been gained after the sugar factories in Sevanagala and Palavatta were handed appropriated by the state. The ceremony to allocate 20% of the profits as incentives for the employees and farmers in the industry was held under the auspices of President Mahinda Rajapaksa today.
The ceremony was held at the Sevanagala Sugar Factory Stadium. President Rajapaksa said the fact that the government was able to turn the sugar factory, which was acquired by the government on the 11th of November in 2011, into a profit-making institution within a few years is a great triumph.
This incentive is a new message. There are times losses were made. At the same time, profits were made, losses were also made. You know that this is an institution which was sold at a very cheap price. So after 2010, we took a decision to take it over. And I think after 2 years and 6 months, the government was able to turn this into a profit-making institution. This is a very important fact. This is something that should be told to the media. Because this is a very good example for other institutions that are far more valuable than this. Because after we came into power, we did not disown anything from the country. We were against the whole concept of privatization. We are against the privatization of state institutions. We saw the hardships the people here were facing. We made preparations and plans to create a new system from top to bottom. We won the trust of the farmers, and we, as a result of the trust of the past 2 years, were able to provide results. This is what we are distributing as bonuses and dividends. Remember, the party that I was in, the United National Party, Minister Jagat Pushpakumar said that this was sold at a steal. We were not aware of this. It is only when we made inquiries later that we found out that this was sold for a low price, even when there was a bid for 750 million. There were assets running into tens of millions and 4,000 hectares of land. But in the end, when the president appropriated this to the state, only 2,000 hectares had been cultivated. Parliamentarian Lakshman Kiriyalla said in Parliament yesterday that Sri Lanka should face the inquiry of the UN High Commission for Human Rights in Geneva with the assistance of prominent international Sri Lankan lawyers. He said that he too is prepared to assist in this process.
GL පිරිස ඇමතුමා ප්‍රකාශයක් කළා තිබ්බා අපි මේ පරීක්ෂණයට සහභාගී වෙන්නේ නැහැ කියලා.
Minister G.L. Piris had made a statement yesterday that we will not participate in this resolution. Honourable Speaker, a week before that, a key officer in the UN, Yasmin Sooka, had made a statement.
Yasmin Sooka ප්‍රකාශයක් කළා තිබ්බා former UN advisor on post-war accountability issues in Sri Lanka. Yasmin Sooka says there would be serious repercussions, including sanctions, if the government of Sri Lanka fails to cooperate with the UN Human Rights Council.
I think there needs to be a dialogue in Parliament about this. No matter how many targets we prepare, Honourable Speaker, if sanctions are imposed against our nation, we will have to change these targets. She had been asked what type of sanctions would be imposed.
Sanctions could be anything such as travel ban on state officials, asset freezing, drop on foreign investments, ban on dollar transactions. So මම ආණ්ඩුවෙන් අහන්න කැමති මේකට සැලැස්මක් තියෙනවද? මේ තත්ත්වයට මුහුණ දෙන්න.
I wish to ask the government if they have a plan to face this situation. Thereby, I expect a response from the government on how we as a country are going to face this situation if sanctions are imposed. The UN resolution is similar to a court case. When we are issued summons by a court and we do not appear, won't the hearing proceed without us?
අධිකරණයට සිතාසිය ආවහම අපි කියන්නේ නැත්නම් අපි නැතුව නඩු විභාග වෙන්නේ නැද්ද?
අඩු ගානේ බලන්න ඉන්දියාව කියපු දේ.
At the very least, look at what India said. It is principle. As a country with self-respect, in the face of a matter of principle, it is not only us but India too.
This is too intrusive.
There is a matter of principle here.
ඔබතුමා කියන එක ඇත්තක් තියෙනවා. නමුත් ඔබතුමාලා කියන්නේ බොරු නඩුවක් කියලානේ.
There is truth to what you are saying, but now you are saying that this is a false case. If we are asked to come to court even for a false case, shouldn't we go?
අද ඉන්නවා ලෝකේ ශ්‍රී ලාංකික නීතිඥ මාතෘ
There are prominent Sri Lankan lawyers in the world today. Desmond De Silva, Christy Veeramantri, Professor Lakshman Marasinghe. They are people of international repute. Secure their assistance and face this. If you do not come forward to prove their evidence is false, the case will be decided in a one-sided fashion. At the outset, you said that a resolution will never be adopted at the UN Human Rights Council. GL Piri said this in Parliament.
එක්සත් ජාතීන්ගේ මානව විඥාන කවුන්සිලේ යෝජනාව සම්මත වෙන්නේ නැහැ කියලා. GL Piri මහත්තයා මෙතන ඉඳන් කිව්වා. There won't be a resolution against Sri Lanka කිව්වා.
3 resolutions have been passed in 3 years. These are only allegations. They have not been proven. It is your duty, and if you do not carry out your duty, I believe that you will have betrayed the army and the country. I say to you, do not abandon the army and the country. Come forward.
මම තමුන්නාන්සලාට කියනවා හමුදාව රටයි අතරමං කරන්න එපා. මේකට ඉදිරිපත් වෙන්න. අපි සහාය දෙන්න සූදානම්.
Meanwhile, in Parliament today, Project Minister Rohita Begunawardena questioned as to whether the stance of MP Lakshman Kiriyalla reflects the stance of the UNP.
එතුමා කියනවා ඒදි නිර්දෝෂීභාවය ඔප්පු කරන්න ඕන. ඉතින් මෙතුමා අපි මං එතුමාගෙන් අහන්නේ එකයි. අද UNP එකේ ප්‍රතිපත්තිය
He says that we must prove our innocence. I wish to ask him one question. Is the policy of the UNP today to accept whatever resolutions are put forward in Geneva? When was this decision reached? Our problem is this. The opposition is a part of this country. I do not know whether this opposition is an extension of the Human Rights Council in Geneva. But the problem we have is not whether the opposition is saying what we have to do as a country, but whether they are seeking to achieve their own narrow ends. That is why I asked whether it is the policy of the UNP. But if an MP of the UNP is saying this, we do not know if this has become the policy of the UNP. We do not know if the leader left instructions to ask this question before he went to Harvard, so he could ask questions from the other side.
මේක කියලා ගියාද දන්නේ නැහැ මේක අහන්න මොකද එතකොට ඒ පැත්තෙන් එතුමාට මොනවා හරි අහන්න දිනවා නම් අහගන්න පුළුවන්ද කියලා.
In the meantime, Britain has said that the Sri Lankan government should listen to the international community. British Minister of State for the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, Hugo Swires, said that, quote, the international community has spoken through the UN Human Rights Council. It is important that the government in Colombo listens to what has been said and what is asked of them, and that we can conduct an investigation through the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights to make that country a better place for all, unquote.
Australia's Minister of Foreign Affairs says the Australian government believes that it is in the interest of all Sri Lankans to engage and encourage the challenging and painful process of reconciliation rather than to seek to isolate and punish. She made this statement in an opinion article published in Australia's Newcastle Herald in response to an earlier statement by former UNDP spokesperson in Sri Lanka, Gordon West, that Australia needs to urgently rethink its stance on Sri Lanka.
Bishop wrote, quote, Sri Lanka is emerging from a dark chapter in its history, and it will be no easy task to rebuild trust and confidence between all sectors of society, unquote. Bishop noted that in meetings with Sri Lanka's political leadership, she had reiterated that the need for the Sri Lankan government to implement all the recommendations of the Lessons Learned and Reconciliation Commission, demilitarization of the North and Northeast, devolution of some government responsibilities to the North and East, and an independent investigation into allegations of war crimes by both sides in the final stages of the civil war. Bishop added that nations such as Australia can point to the foundations of a successful multicultural society which is based on all being equal before the law, freedom of speech, a free media, a robust democracy and tolerance.
General Secretary of the Citizens Front, Parliamentarian J. Sriranga, said in Parliament yesterday that preparations are being made to impose taxes on hand tractors.
இன்றும் உலக நாடுகள் பிரித்தானியா போன்ற நாடுகள் இன்றும் விவசாய துறைகளுக்கு செல்ல வேண்டும் உலகிலே
Today major powerhouses in the world including Britain has focused its attention on agriculture. Even the United Nations have shown its interest towards this. Today the international community is gearing up for the food crisis that is likely to happen in 2020. However, despite all these positive developments across the world, Sri Lanka is slapping a tax on hand tractors. Who is using the hand tractor? This tax will have to be shouldered by farmers. It is the innocent farmer who exports their produce who will be affected by this move. What is the government intending to achieve through this? Do they want farmers to use cattle as done in the past? Today they have provided concessions to those who import high-end pens and ties. However, tax concessions should be given to farmers. The number of farmers who had purchased hand tractors have significantly dropped. Rumours suggest that hand tractors are to be manufactured in Sri Lanka and that this will reduce the tax rate. They will import hand tractors from overseas and fix tires and label it made in Sri Lanka.
Coming up on the news tonight.
I'm Zulfan Farzan, and coming up on the news tonight, something with him.
I'm Dylan Malagamu. Let's go for a spin.
Welcome back to the news. An increased control price for rice will come into effect at midnight today to arrest the continual rise in the price of rice during the festive season.
Based on the Consumer Affairs Authority Act No. 9 of 2003, the government decided to impose a maximum retail price for a kilogram of rice on the 18th of March 2009. Accordingly, a kilogram of destoned samba, other than kiri samba and suduru samba, was sold at 70 rupees. Meanwhile, white nadu, a kilogram of white kakulu and red kakulu was sold at 60 rupees. However, Newsfirst on a number of occasions highlighted that retail traders were selling rice above the stipulated price that was brought forth through the Act. In order to arrest this situation, the government introduced a controlled price for rice with effect from midnight today. Based on the new price revision, the price of a kilogram of white nadu, which stood at 60 rupees, was increased to 68 rupees, while a kilogram of white kakulu and red kakulu, which was also sold at 60 rupees, was increased to 66 rupees, an increase of 6 rupees.
Despite this new development today on the government's decision to introduce a control price for rice, the subject minister bore a different opinion yesterday. Minister of Agriculture Mahinda Yapawewardena, addressing an event in Mathura, said yesterday that there is no need to revise the control price for rice.
Based on what I see, it is evident that certain parties are attempting to increase the price of rice artificially. If this happens, the government will have to import rice immediately. However, there is no need to do this. The country has enough rice until October. We have ample rice stocks. Until the end of November, we do not have to worry.
Meanwhile, the Minister of Finance and Planning also took a decision to relax the levy that was imposed when importing rice to the country.
Accordingly, all existing taxes on rice imports have been removed, and instead a special commodity levy of 5 rupees per kilogram on imported rice was imposed effective today. Earlier, 39 rupees was slapped on a kilogram of imported rice. The Ministry of Finance and Planning said that this decision was taken to safeguard the consumer. The ministry cites the drought which the country experienced during the last few months will have an impact on the farmers' produce and will thus have an adverse effect on the price of a kilogram of rice during the festive season.
One individual from a group who suspiciously arrived at a turtle sanctuary in Kosgada has been arrested by the police. The police said that the owner of the van in which the group had arrived in had been detained for questioning.
A van with its headlights turned off had arrived at a turtle sanctuary in Kosgada at around 2 this morning. This turtle sanctuary is located around 500 meters away from the turtle sanctuary where an albino turtle went missing recently, stirring a major controversy. A large amount of albino turtles are housed at this sanctuary as well.
මගේ ඉදිරියට දුවගනාව හතර දෙනෙක් එක්කෙනෙක් මට දරුණු විදියට වෙඩි තියන්නයි කියලා තර්ජනය කරා.
4 people came charging towards me. One of them threatened to shoot me. I couldn't identify him. Another was ordering him to just shoot me. I ran to my house through the back door, which was open at the time. The turtle escaped because I was awake. If not, I would have been killed and the turtle would have been stolen.
මගේ අවදියේ හින්දා තමයි කැස්බෑ බේරුනේ නැත්නම් මාත් මරලා කැස්බත් තරන් යනවා.
The group had abandoned the van and fled the scene after residents and the police had arrived at the location. One of the individuals who was hiding in a bush area was arrested by the police. A firearm and other equipment was also found inside the van after it was seized by the police. The police said that the van was hired from the Kosgoda area itself, while the owner of the vehicle is a resident of the area. According to the police, the objective of the group who arrived at the location last night has not been revealed as yet. However, the police believe that a relative of the owner of the turtle sanctuary, where an albino turtle went missing last year, was amongst the group.
This is the third time we have had such visitors. The demand for this turtle has not ended as yet. Different people come asking for this turtle. They are attempting to steal the turtle, employing underworld persons. I was offered 70 million for this turtle a month ago.
In December last year, a large albino turtle was stolen from the Kosgoda Turtle Sanctuary. Thereafter, the owner of the sanctuary said that a renowned musician and several others offered a sum of over 15 million rupees for the turtle. The owner said that after he refused to sell the turtle, it went missing. After the case was brought before courts, it was ordered that the turtles at the sanctuary be handed over to the care of the Dehiwala National Zoo. However, a few days later, one turtle died.
සුදු කැස්බෑවුන් කියන්නේ කැස්බෑවුන්ගේ ඇතිවෙන විකෘති තත්ත්වයක් මේක සමහරලාට ඇලියාකාරයක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්.
The characteristics of albino turtles are an abnormality from the normal turtles. They have absolutely no value. But what we do know is that some objects that have no value mean something to some people who are under various beliefs that these turtles possess some sort of value. These are just rumors that circulate among people. In fact, the albino turtle is an animal which is much less valuable than a normal turtle.
කැස්බෑවාගේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් ගත්තාම තියෙන කිසිම
The 13th round of trials for Super Fighter, Sri Lanka's first ever sports reality TV program, commenced at the Rajapaksa Mahavidyalaya in Veerakatiya today.
Super Fighter.
Super Fighter is a joint venture of MAS Holdings, Newsfirst and the MTV MBC Media Network. The 13th round of trials for Super Fighter commenced in Hambantota today with the aim of selecting talented boxers from the district, and over 300 hopeful participants took part in the training program today. Among the participants were 2 female boxers. I believe that the art of combat that you are utilizing for this program is very challenging for the competitors. We are aware that one meets various obstacles while engaging in sports. The Sirasa Media Network always provides us with amazing things. We need to accept this challenge, and we consider the selection of Veerakatiya Central College to be the centre of this program in the Walasmula Education Zone as a service to us all. Trial bouts will take place tomorrow under 4 different weight classes.
Super.
I'm not designed to come second or third. I'm designed to win. The famous words of the late F1 champion Ayrton Senna has now become the mantra for racing drivers across the world. Champion Sri Lankan racer Dilantha Malagamur recently returned to Sri Lanka for a short stay following victory at round 1 of the Malaysian FIA GT Series. Newsfirst Zulfiq Farzan caught up with this racer over the weekend for an insight into his racing life.
Sri Lankan racer Dilantha Malagamur started his racing career at a very young age and is now the proud holder of many coveted titles, including the recently concluded Malaysian FIA GT Series Round 1. He won the GT Open and GT3 category in Malaysia and visited Sri Lanka for a short stay after his win.
My first race was when I was 16 and I won the first race, and the same year my father bought me a TZ350, one of the fastest bike in that during that time, and then I started racing it in Sri Lanka. But I did my first international race in 1983 in India. There were riders from all over the world, and most of them took me for a joke, because a guy from nowhere, very young, coming with an old bike to race. So in 1985 I ran away from home with a one-way ticket and $400. And it took 2 years for me to work and save money to buy my first race bike. So I started racing bikes from 1987 to 1989 in Japan, GP 125s and GP 250s. And then I switched to cars in 1989, and I started from one-make cars of the year. So in 1995 I won the first championship.
Dilantha also shared with us his advice for aspiring racing drivers.
I mean, if you want to be on the top, you have to have all these things together. So you have to have a very clean mind to do what you're really going to do, so commitment, dedication. So you need all these things together, and then you have to have a talent also for that. If you have a born talent, it's even easier. So these are the things you need, and then sacrifice, sacrifice is another thing. So if you have to put all these things together, and it's not an easy thing, but then there's nothing easy, nothing comes free for you. So but if you can keep up with it, and if you can go on for about 10-15 years with all this burden with you, then I'm sure you can become a champion in any way.
Dilantha's attitude to passion no doubt causes one to reminisce on those famous words of Ayrton Senna: "I am designed to win." Zulfiq Farzan, Newsfirst, Colombo.
A new passenger boat service from the Negombo Lagoon to Paliagoda along the Hamilton Canal was commenced today. The ferry Mahanagar offers sightseeing tours to the public as well.
The boat, which begins its journey from the Negombo Lagoon, can carry 16 passengers. The boat, which passes through the Kalani River on its journey to Paliagoda from Negombo, offers the passengers an opportunity to enjoy the scenic beauty of the area. The service provides a unique opportunity for the public to take in an aquaculture of the area and the Negombo Lagoon.
With the new development that has taken place in the country, now we are in a position to make use of our waterways, our seas for leisure purposes, and we hope that those who are able to afford to invest on boats would do so and begin to enjoy what our waterways could provide from the environmental point of view and the general beauty of the country.
Prime Ministerial candidate of India's main opposition Bharatiya Janata Party, Narendra Modi, filed nomination papers for his second seat from Vadodara city in his home state of Western Gujarat today. Modi is also contesting from the Varanasi constituency in the northern Uttar Pradesh province.
In Vadodara city, a huge crowd surrounded Modi, who was standing in an open-top jeep and waving to his supporters. The Hindu nationalist leader arrived at the collector's office to file his nomination papers as hundreds of police personnel stood guard along the route. The city is considered to be one of the major BJP stronghold constituencies. 6 of the 7 assembly seats in the constituency are held by the BJP, while the remaining seat is held by an independent, who is also now in the party fold. Modi, the state chief of Gujarat, called Vadodara his Karma Bhumi, the land of one's destiny, saying that he had been born just 200 kilometers away from the place. After filing the papers, he urged people to vote for his party.
30 तारीख को भारी मतदान करके कमल के निशान पर बटन दबा करके भारतीय जनता पार्टी को भव्य विजय दिलाएंगे.
Modi will see the ruling Congress party candidate Madhusudan Mistry as his opponent from the Vadodara constituency. Modi, the hot favorite to be India's next Prime Minister, stands on the cusp of leading the world's most populous democracy after an election that looked set to make his party the country's biggest. Polls have consistently shown voters favouring Modi, a divisive but charismatic figure to lead the country, gaining a vast difference over his main opponent Rahul Gandhi, a political heir of the Nehru-Gandhi dynasty, appointed to lead the Congress campaign.
And with that, we wrap up this edition of Primetime News. Thanks a lot for joining us. Sam Shane Silva.
I'm Minosha Ratnasekara. We leave you with a look at the weather forecast for tomorrow. Take care and good night.
Hotline 0114-896-896. www.newsfirst.lk. Feedback at newsfirst.lk.